of resistance, resilience that people take for fucking granted. One of the best things about America, I guess, one of the kind of weaknesses about American nationalism is that they're so hyper focused on.
I hope he has the same energy for conservatives because Liz Cheney and Romney exist. You know what really frustrates me is that it's that thing about. This is my thesis. This is my thesis, by the way. This is what I think the core of his issue is I think that he sees anyone at the anywhere but the top of the social hierarchy, he sees them as not having free will. And anyone at the top of the social hierarchy, he sees them as having free will. So therefore, morality applies only to people that are in power. For him, this is like his own like moral framework. Okay. The thing is that he is incapable of applying that same kind of lens of like the the historical process is something that by the way, it's always relative to the person with the free will. It's a master-slave issue, is that he doesn't know how to apply that historical systemic analysis to anyone that he considers as like an oppressor, right? He's not going to be looking at a conservative as like a white Christian conservative as someone who's a product of history and culture, etc. He's going to look at them as the oppressor. Whereas the oppressed are always a product of history and culture, etc., but is always in opposition to the oppressor, and therefore by their category, by identification, there is an inherent moral virtue in that person, just through their existence. You know, when you've heard, I don't know if you've heard people on the left say this before, but like existing as a insert oppressed group here is inherently revolutionary. When people say stuff like that, this is kind of the idea that they're actually getting at. And that frustrates the fuck out of me, because then when you start getting into a situation where you start talking about, it's really easy to get into a situation where for example, Hasan doesn't believe in reverse racism. He doesn't believe that you can be racist against white people. The reason why you can't be racist against white people is because they're at the top of the social hierarchy. And when you have a situation like the United States, it's impossible that you can be racist to white people, and it in turn ends up justifying racism against white people and otherizing white people and turning white people into they have monolithic attributes and stuff like that. This is the kind of logic that you fall into. It's really, really dangerous, because that kind of logic legitimizes also racism the other way as well. But the moment you get someone trying to apply that same kind of lens in Israel and Palestine, very easy to figure out why people are going to be making reductive conclusions about Jews and being anti-Semitic. It's very easy. It's very obvious to tell. But you might even get into a situation at some point where people will actually believe that it's impossible to be anti-Semitic in Palestine. Actually, no, I think that's like a status quo belief. Logically, it would have to be, right?
Their treats that it's like much easier to examine this kind of thing, especially when paired up with the